everybody. I am Alex Panousis. I am the host of Marketing TO, and I'm the CEO of Dentsu Media. And I am so excited to be here. I wish we could walk around. I hope you can hear us back in the corner. Everyone's having so much fun at the first event. We're thrilled to be here. So, Arati, I want to introduce you, but I want you to introduce yourself. So tell me, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, I can introduce myself. First of all, it's so good to see everyone out and about, or oot and about, like I like to say. I was listening to John earlier, and it was incredibly inspiring. So I'll give a little bit of an intro, but it's hard to follow someone like him. How much fun is everyone having today? I want to hear yes. I love the talking, the listening. If you get bored of us, just keep chatting at your tables, because honestly, as someone who used to run events in this industry, it's so good to see everyone out. A little bit about myself. You asked me to do an intro. My name is Arati Sharma. I'm a previous Shopify employee. I know everyone's a previous Shopify employee. I have my Shopify crew back over there. I used to run marketing, and the last stint I had was the director of product marketing, and I left at the end of January to run my own business. And I gotta tell you, it's completely different being in the founder seat. So all of the founders, I have immense respect for you. I feel like I spent 8 years at Shopify talking about entrepreneurship, and now that I'm in the hot seat, I can tell you I did not know what I was talking about. Since leaving, I started Backbone Angels. I'm sure some of you have heard of Backbone Angels. We're an angel collective of 10 women who were, like we say, the backbone of Shopify. The 10 of us were in all unique roles, and often some of the only women in the room. And so we decided to launch Backbone Angels back in March. We launched on International Women's Day. And we're a collective of 10 Shopify angels that only invest in women, women of color, and non-binary founders. And we've had an incredible time since launching. We've invested in, I believe, over 25 companies since March. So that's what we do. Thank you. And I'm the founder of a D2C skincare business called Glee. We are the first ghee-based skincare. So if any South Asians are in the room, you know what ghee is. Your mom probably told you to use ghee on your lips, use ghee in your hair. My younger brother, who is the entrepreneur of the family, decided to start it. And so me and my sister, who's back there, joined him on his journey, and we launched a D2C skincare business that is now sold all over the world. And that's a little bit about me.
So we're sharing a mic, yes. Listen, fabulous story. I'd love to kind of get a little sense of, who you are and how you got through COVID. So you worked at Shopify, you've started a new company during COVID. You worked for a couple of different, interesting industries. Why don't you tell us what's been like for the last 18 months?
Yeah, it was kind of wild. So I had my son. He's almost 2, so back in October he'll be 2 years old. So I was actually on mat leave during COVID, which was wild. I was on mat leave. I felt like I was in a bubble. My husband called me the day that Shopify decided to close its offices. We actually closed them before everyone else did. And it felt really surreal. And so, raising a toddler during COVID had its own situation. And then going back to work during COVID was really surreal too, because I wasn't a part of everyone's experiences. I went back around eight months after everyone had already acclimatized, and I was making the same jokes that everyone already made. I was like, oh no, the Google Meet isn't working. And they're like, Arati, get over it. It's time to catch up. And that's when I realized, I was like, I've put so much energy into Shopify, and I've been so fortunate to be there for 8 years and worked in marketing. But it was time for me to do my own thing. I think Shopify is a great place to work. I love the founders. My husband still works there. But I think COVID was a really big awakening for a lot of people to kind of do what you were meant to do and go out and try to make your own thing. And that's, again, why I have this huge respect for founders, especially during COVID, because you don't have these same networking events in person, right? Everything is over a hangout. You're hiring employees over a hangout. So that's been, honestly, it's been kind of rough, but at the same time, I think it's been really humbling.
So I'm very interested in Backbone, especially given the times that we're in. So tell me a little bit more about that and how you're giving women access.
Great. It's so weird sharing a mic. You know, I know. Because I like the back and forth. Okay. This is great. Backbone is a collective of 10 angels. And it's funny, when we launched, we decided to launch on International Women's Day. And I remember one of our founding partners is Toby's chief of staff, and she runs communications for Shopify, and she's a seasoned PR, GR person. And she's like, Arati, no one's gonna care about our launch. You know, it's International Women's Day, it's a really busy day. And then when we launched and it was all over every single press, we were in the Globe and Mail, and we're like, why is there so much momentum around this? And we realized, you know, there's a lot of funding resources. It feels like everybody is raising. It feels like everyone is now an angel investor. But there's still not enough capital flowing to women. And there's still not enough capital flowing to women of color, even in our country, which is supposed to be this, like, especially Toronto, right? Like, look around us. We are an incredibly diverse city, but the capital still isn't coming to women. And the challenging part is twofold. One is there aren't enough women who have been second-time founders or third-time founders, and it's usually so easy to write a check to a second-time founder. And so we decided, hey, if the 10 of us are gonna do something, why not do something for this community that we love, and especially Canadian women? The 10 of us have had so many unique experiences scaling Shopify, and why not put our heads together to invest in women, not only by writing checks, but being the right advisors for them? Because sometimes, you know, as women, you don't get the feedback that a lot of men do. And that's why we decided to do this together. I'll tell a little bit of an anecdotal story. Oh, I think that's your ring. It might have been okay. I'll tell a little bit of an anecdotal story. So the 10 of us at Shopify, you know, we were part of the same network as, like, you know, Toby and Harley and even Satish, my husband, taking photos, and Farhan. And we often used to be around conversations where the guys used to be sharing decks of companies. And they used to be like, oh, we're gonna invest in this company, or, oh, this person reached out. And I was like, wait, like, where are the people who are running this company, and where are the decks coming to us? And so when the 10 of us were trying to figure out how are we gonna give all these things that we've learned running Shopify, how are we gonna give back to the community outside of our four walls, we decided, why not actually write those checks, talk to the guys about what these decks are, and create our own community. And that's where Backbone kind of started.
So I want to poll the audience here. How many female founders are at this event? Raise your hand. Female founders, I see several of you. Woohoo! Right? And there are definitely unique challenges, and I think that you have, you know, kind of created an opportunity for women at the perfect time. Tell me, you worked for a big company, and you were what, the 290th employee, right? What was that transition like, going from Shopify to being an entrepreneur to now creating a collective to support other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think, you know, I am fortunate to have taken a seat on the rocket ship when Shopify was such a small company, and helped scale it. And so it's been interesting because, you know, we were talking about this earlier. I think going from a large company to becoming an entrepreneur can be a little bit jarring because you have to do everything yourself. But I was fortunate enough at Shopify to be able to build a lot of the teams from scratch. So, you know, Shopify never had experiential marketing. I created it. We never had product marketing. I created the department from ground. And so I feel like I had an opportunity, and that's kind of a lot of people who don't understand Shopify, I often tell them it's the best place if you're an entrepreneurial spirit or if you're an entrepreneur. So I think because of my experience there and working with so many entrepreneurs, I had a lot of empathy. But, like I was saying in my intro, there's nothing like being in the founder's seat. It's been really challenging because not only, of course you're building from scratch, you have to do everything from scratch, but there's a lot of pressure. And, it's on your dime and everyone is accountable to you. And so that's where I say I love founders, I love entrepreneurs because we're the ones taking the risk. And I think, especially being 10 women who were a part of Shopify, creating this angel collective was really important to us because we know women have been starting businesses since forever. Just because the news or your Google search only shows a dude in a hoodie, that's actually not true. Women have been creating businesses since the beginning. We may not be in the same industries or may have the same access, but a lot of the businesses that are successful, sustainable, actually have revenue, may not take on a lot of capital, are run by women. And so why not fund them and support them?
And I think that's worth a note. I think when John was talking about the vision that we have for Canada moving into the kind of the next iteration of technology and innovation, I think women are going to take a massive role in that. And so I'm super excited that you're doing this. Tell me a little bit about some of the companies you're investing in.
Great. So Backbone has taken a little bit of a break during July, so I was messaging all of our partners to be like, who can we talk about? So I'll list some of my favorites. Half of us are still at Shopify, half of us are not. So we always have different restrictions on what we can invest in. But I love investing in direct to consumer. I feel like I understand that the best. And I also feel, especially, talking about the Canadian future, I think if you're a direct to consumer e-commerce business in LA, you can get funding like this. People are like, oh, you're selling this. Oh, I understand there's a market for that. But in Canada, it takes a long time for people to understand what a D2C business is. I mean, look at Smart Suites. She had a huge exit. Was everyone talking about it on Twitter? No. Where were the big celebratory excitement around that? So I actually really like to back Canadian D2C because I think Canadians are solving really interesting problems. So one of my favorite investments to date is Bird & Bee. They are an amazing company. One of the founders is actually Brianna Hughes. She's a huge part of the Toronto tech ecosystem. She's been a product manager in so many great companies. And they are essentially creating an accessible way to look at products that help you in your infertility journey. And we know women are having children much later. Infertility is something that's not discussed at all. And so everything from direct to consumer vitamins and tools and testing kits that are accessible for Canadians, especially millennials who aren't necessarily going to go into a Shoppers Drug Mart and buy something. That's one of the companies that I'm really excited about. They just raised a round as well. And so we were happy as Backbone to be one of the first people to back them, especially Brianna with such a great following in the tech community. That's one of my favorites. Another one is Array. I'm sure everyone has seen Array's ads. Everyone tells me they see Array's ads. They're two Canadian co-founders that are actually in the US now, and they sell supplements as well. But what's really interesting about them is they have a wellness platform that introduces and connects you to a naturopath, which a lot of us are starting to access, but it's usually through a referral. It's usually these random offices. And so why not create a digital portal for that? And they're just amazing, smart Canadians that are now in LA building this amazing business. If you're on Snapchat, I'm sure you've been served an Array ad. I love their bloat pills. And so those are two of my favorite ones right now.
So one of the things in your profile that I think is so incredible is that you call yourself a reluctant marketer. And I think that that's definitely a story that many marketers have. They're reluctant marketers. They're marketers by force. Tell me a little bit about why you call yourself that and what you think about the role of marketing in the company that you're running now with the organizations that you're trying to back.
Great. I mean, you can speak to this as someone who runs an agency, and is a marketer. I call myself a reluctant marketer because marketing is hard. It's often, especially in tech, a thankless job. So kudos to all the marketers in the room. I spent 8 years at Shopify as a marketer, and being in tech as a marketer, I know how hard it is. I call myself a reluctant marketer because even though I try to invest in companies that come from a really diverse background, different industries, I'm often the person, especially the investor, who's obsessed with your brand. So I'm sorry if I'm going to talk to you and you're a company that's pitching me, I'm going to harp on your brand. And I try not to do that, but that's exactly who I am. And I think that's why I gravitate towards direct-to-consumer, because with direct-to-consumer, CPG, e-commerce brands, brand and marketing is really like your butter, right? And so if you can't sell your product, there's no point in you existing. And so that's why I call myself a reluctant marketer. In a lot of the ventures I've built, I try not to be the marketing lead. I really try to flex in other ways, but it's hard not to. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I started my career as a lobbyist in political comms, and once you do comms, especially in politics, it's kind of hard not to rewrite the press release for someone. So that's where I call myself a reluctant marketer.
Okay, so let's do some rapid questions. Best advice you've ever had?
Oh, man, best advice I've ever had. Since everyone's been talking about Shopify, I'll give two. One was from Toby, who talked a lot about mastery. And he talks a lot about mastering, the skill that is inherently what you're known for, and he pushes that a lot. And so I took that to heart, and that's where I said a reluctant marketer, but I love to master that. And the second thing is I always like to joke about this, but Farhan, who's in the back, who's not paying attention right now, he's a senior engineer at Shopify. Everyone knows Farhan. Farhan pulled me aside a couple years ago when I was talking about investing in companies, and he was saying, Arati, more people need to know about what you do and how you can give back to companies. And so that was a good kick in the butt. And I decided to start talking about the things that I do, because I think as Canadians, we're so shy. Like, we don't like to talk about money, we don't like to talk about investing, we don't like to talk about the skills that we had. And so he was like, no, you got to talk about it, because if at anything, it inspires other people. And so that's why I kind of say yes to things like this, speaking gigs, which I don't think I ever would have.
So you're a mother. How has that changed this is a really interesting question for me, because I'm a mother, and I know that that's changed the way I see the world and the way I look at business. How has that changed you?
Great question. So I'm a difficult leader. I expect a lot from people. I expect a lot from myself. And being a mother created a whole other level of empathy as a leader for me. Because I think I started seeing my kid in everyone. I don't know if it was like a part of postpartum or something, but I saw my kid in every single employee, every single interaction. And I just kept thinking, how would I want someone to treat my child? Right? Whether it's like an investment meeting, a team meeting. And like before that, I was like, I'm an asshole, right? Like I demand a lot. And so I still demand a lot, but I think the way I approach that has completely changed after I had my son. Who's the cutest?
So, hottest company to be thinking about today? Hottest company to be thinking about today? Who do you want to invest in? How about that?
Who do I want to invest? I want to invest in everything. Like, my problem is I can't say no. I've invested in 27 companies this year, which like I have to slow down. Thanks, Mark. Like, I really have to slow down because I want to spend more time with founders. But I am not going to answer that because I love them all. I truly love them all. I think, if you're an investor or you're looking to get into investment, look at the companies who are thinking about Canada, but also broader, because if you're solving something here, you can solve something in the UK, you can solve something in Australia. We have really similar markets. And I kind of like companies that, when you look at the founder, there's like a little bit of glimmer of they want to scale, like they know this thing is their thing. So yeah, that's what I look for, but I'm not going to pick favorites.
So amazing. So look, we have a lot of people in the audience that come from a varied group: investors, founders, supporters, people that are working for tech companies. What advice can you give them? You've done an incredible. I mean, you've gone from Jet to Shopify to your own company to a company that's supporting other companies. Give us your greatest bit of advice, your closing remarks.
Okay, that's a lot of pressure. One, I think it's like, remember why you started. I think a lot of people along the way start to doubt why they started. Just remember why you started. What was that original vision, that original passion that you had? Because people can tell. People can tell whether you're in it or you're out. As an investor who meets with like hundreds of companies a week, I know if the founder's like gonna take it at least for the next 10 years or not. And so the way to do that is really just remember why you started. And then the second thing I'll say, especially because we've all gone through this just unbelievable period together as humanity, is especially as a founder, but even as an employee of a tech company or as an investor, remember to put your mental health first. That's the only thing that you have at the end of the day. And as long as you can focus on yourself, you can focus on others. And I think, I'm sure every industry has this, but I feel like in tech especially, we lose sight of it because we're always trying to catch up, right? We're always trying to do the next thing, build the next product, hire the next engineer, hire your next employee, launch that next marketing campaign. But at the end of the day, it's about your mental health. And I really hope that's what we've taken away from this experience during COVID.
So listen, thank you very much. You're clearly an inspiration. You've done so many amazing things. I look forward to hearing more about Backbone and all the great companies you're going to be supporting. And if anybody wants to connect in a very COVID-appropriate way, please find her. She's sitting over there. Thank you very much for listening, guys. And I'm going to pass it on to Alex Norman.